My name is Debbie Goodman. Today my special guest is Coke Hallowell. Coke, welcome.
Welcome to you. I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you. The Parkway has come a long way since I remember its beginning was what, in the early 1990?
1988.
1988.
Well, that's when our board of trustees got together and founded the Parkway.
Okay, I remember coming out here on a hike around 1995, 96 when the old River Ranch house was just almost dilapidated.
Yes, it was very dilapidated. It had not been lived in for quite a while, and there had been grain storage in the house.
Wow.
Tons of grain in the house. It was a mess.
Okay.
It was very bad.
And how did the Parkway come to obtain the house?
Well, that's a bit of a story too. I'll try to make it brief. We, in about 1990, began to do a plan for the Parkway with the help of the state of California, with legislation by Assemblyman Jim Costa at that time. And so the plan came out, and we had a lot of input from the public, both in Madera County and Fresno County, about what the public thought a parkway could be, you know, with trails and preserved land to protect the river. And about that time, my husband and I moved onto our ranch in Madera County. So I was coming up and down Bryant Road, where I had never been familiar with this area. And I spotted this house and thought, you know, that would just be a great education center for the Parkway as we bring kids out to learn about the values of the river and the river bottom. And so I mentioned that to our board, and they liked the idea. So we put that on that map. We put this. But of course, it didn't belong to us.
Okay, it could have been a problem.
It was a little bit of a mistake. We should have asked the owners before putting it on the map. But they turned out to be very gracious and actually donated it to us. And the owners were the Sand and Gravel Company, which is now Vulcan. It's an international, very large company. With their board of directors is in Atlanta, I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, they were very generous and gave us then 5 acres and the house.
Wow.
And they had not intended to save the house. They were going to tear down the house and mine the gravel because there's a ton of money underneath here.
Wow.
In mining. And so we were very happy about that and proceeded to think about how to restore it because it definitely needed restoring. So we did a fund drive and raised a lot of money to do the house and the grounds. And the East Fresno Rotary adopted it as their project.
Oh, fabulous.
And the Rotarians would come out and actually tear into the walls with tools because the walls needed to be removed to put electricity, insulation, everything that a house needs. But in 1890, when this was built, it didn't have
it.
So the Rotary did a lot for us, and my husband and I came out and joined them in some of those projects and had a lot of fun while we were doing it. And we raised then $3.5 million from the gifts from the public.
Oh, that's
And,
fantastic.
so it took a couple of years, and we opened it to the public 11 years ago now.
Okay.
And we've had a lot of visitors, tens of thousands of visitors. And we'd have programs here. We rent out the house. Some of the rooms can be used for meetings or corporate retreats, planning retreats. And we rented it out for a wedding shower one time. And
goodness.
There's a nice conference room in the back. It's a good party room, too. and the grounds can be used for various things, too. Birthday parties for all these little kids.
Well, I understand you have a lot of educational things that go on out here throughout the year.
We do. We've started this year to focus on 4th grade California history. That is the curriculum for the state of California. And so we have done our own curriculum that fits in with the state curriculum, and we have 4th graders coming out. And I have walked through the house with them and the grounds, and they get really caught up in the history. And this is a great example to them of what California was like in the old days.
That's great. And you have different events that go on for the public throughout the year. Could
Yes,
you
we
tell
do.
us about some of those?
Well, one of our most recent ones, which was very popular, we had hundreds of people. It was a food truck event. We had 6 food trucks. We had vendors that were selling fresh farm produce, all kinds of fruits and vegetables. And we had artists who were selling jewelry and art, and they were scattered all over the place. And there was music and food, and of course the food trucks. And people had a really good time. And that event brought out a lot of young families that had not been here before. I talked to many of them, trying to get them to buy a membership in the Parkway. That's what we survive on is members, and so we sold quite a few memberships that day.
You know, one of my favorite events of the year is the Parties for the Parkway kickoff party. Can you tell us a little bit about when that happens?
That's on March 6th this year in the Clovis Memorial Building.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. We have about 300 people who come, and it's their first opportunity to buy a party for the Parkway. And those parties are all over the map. They're a marvelous variety of things that you can do. A nature hike along the river with an expert a naturalist, or a canoe trip with a picnic, or a fancy dinner party in someone's house with French cooking.
You know, I volunteered for a few of those parties, and I have to tell you one of my favorites, and I don't know if they still do it, but we did a horseback riding trip through Woodward Park.
I remember that. I don't think we've done it again, but we should.
I loved it. I was just one of the helpers that helped people get on the horses and assure them that it was safe.
Right.
But one of the most fun things was we actually took them down by the river, and all the cattle were down getting a drink. Well, we frightened them.
Oh, no.
And the cattle were running like
Gotta run
crazy. But in order to keep the people calm, I said, we purposely staged this stampede for your entertainment. And they went along with it, and we just had a great time. There was a lunch included, and I think we took about 10 to 12 horses at one time. We did about 3 rides that day, and that's one of my fondest memories.
I will be sure to try to recruit such a party very soon.
That would be fantastic. And of course, I want to volunteer.
Okay. Well, I'll call you.
Okay, that would be great.
And people have a good time. We send out a little book, and that book is available to the public, and they can see the variety of parties there.
It has paintings, pictures donated
right.
by some of the members, artists.
In the community, and those paintings and other pieces of art will be on exhibit in Fresno City Hall the whole month of February.
Okay.
So people can go to City Hall, view the art, and bid on it there. The bid sheets would be on the wall next to the art.
I absolutely love Art Hop. It's one of my favorite things to do. And of course, I always stop by City Hall.
Right.
And I will want to stop by in 2014 to see all of the art that's been donated for the Parkway.
We're very appreciative to the generosity of the artists who donate. And they get exposure that way in the City Hall and in the book, too.
Oh, yeah. I love the little booklet. I probably have some left over from the 90s.
Good for you. I have them all, too.
That's great. Okay, well, let's take a little tour around the property.
Okay.
Coke, can you tell us what this is in the background here?
That is a cedar bark house, really the residence, the dwelling of local Indian tribes. And it was built for us by local Indians for a special event.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's held up very well. It's probably been there 12 or 15 years.
That's great. And so this probably ties in with the 4th grade curriculum.
Yes, that's right. We bring 4th graders out here our curriculum is designed around California history, and especially local history, right? That this ranch displays so nicely.
That's fantastic. I'm a teacher. I teach high school, and I understood you taught in Delray.
I did. I was teaching remedial reading at the time.
All right, well, let's move along. But this is one of the most fun things to do that I think most people never have an opportunity to do.
Exactly. They can just call our office and reserve a canoe trip. And they can take it for 2 hours or 4 hours or all day. They have a
Okay.
choice.
Is there a better time of year to go canoeing?
Oh, yes. Our season is over now. It's just a little bit cold for people who might flip.
Oh,
It would be
yes.
really cold. So we'll start again, I think, in May. In the
And go
spring.
through what about October?
October, yes.
Okay, fantastic.
And we provide a guide, and we provide the life jacket
Oh, good.
and the paddles and the canoe. And the guide can tell them about the flora and fauna along the river and also make sure they don't go the wrong way.
Okay.
It's easy to go on the wrong side of an island. And then when you get on the
Oh.
wrong side of an island, you'll come to the end where there's just nothing but blackberry bushes and tangled trees.
Oh.
And then you'd have to turn around and paddle upstream to get around. So you need a guide the first time out, not to make that mistake.
How long is the river?
It is the second longest river in the state of California.
Okay, but how far do you go down if you go on a canoe trip?
Well, our canoe trips probably wouldn't go more than 20 miles, 22, but that would be a long day, an all-day trip.
Yeah.
But there are people who have on their own gone all the way to San Francisco Bay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it would take days. You'd have to camp out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I've got to give him credit.
yes.
That's not my thing.
That's a long trip.
That's fantastic. All right, thank you. Let's move along.
Okay.
Okay, Coke, can you tell me a little bit about this building we're standing out in front
Yes,
of?
we're very, very pleased with this building, the way it turned out. We used to have offices on Shaw Avenue, and of course the rent was pretty high there. And we had talked for years about building our own building because we owned this property. And so we finally just took the giant leap and did it. It was dedicated in 2008 to Dave Kaler, who has been our executive director for 23 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he's wonderful too. He does a great job for us. And so you see it says the Dave Kaler Building headquarters. And inside are all the offices. The barn wood is, I think, very beautiful, and the shape of the building looks like a barn. And those metal doors kind of look like a barn. And when those doors are open, there's double glass doors. And it's very handsome inside, too. In fact, I want you to see it when it is open.
Tell us a little bit about the insulation in this building.
Oh, the insulation is blue jeans.
Blue jeans.
Blue jeans. I think this is kind of a new thing for people who want to build green and in honor of the environment. And it seems well insulated every time I've been in it.
That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that.
There's a conference room in here that we rent out to the public for planning retreats or whatever, or parties, whatever. And our staff is in there.
Now, Coke, what is your title here at the Parkway?
I am board chairman.
Board chairman.
I was president of the board for 22 years, maybe. I'm trying to remember. And then I decided that had been a long time, and I should give someone else the pleasure and opportunity of serving as president.
And who's president now?
George Folsom. And he's a wonderful person. George's wife is the gift shop manager.
Oh,
She does all the buying and everything. And she manages the volunteers who work in the gift shop.
Well, let's go over to the gift shop now.
Okay. This is the Welcome Center, so welcome.
Well, thank you.
And it houses our gift shop, which is open every day of the week. And we have a volunteer manager of that store. She does a terrific job. And right behind the gift shop are offices for some of our staff. And so there's computers and everything necessary there. Then the most important part of this is that there's restrooms. And the trail that comes from Woodward Park is 3 miles long.
Okay.
And by the time runners get here or cyclists, this is a perfect place for them to use a restroom.
That's great.
And well, we love to have them come in and get acquainted with us and what we're doing here.
Now, the store, it's now open year-round, is that correct?
That's right.
And it used to only be at Christmas time. I remember you had a...
Limited, very limited. We had a store in Fig Garden Village once, in the key shop there, and it was very teeny tiny, and it was only at Christmas, you know. But that was the beginning of it, so now we're open all the time, as long as our volunteers are here to help people.
And now, if somebody out there wanted to volunteer...
Oh, yes, just call us.
Okay.
248-8480.
Okay.
And we have so many volunteer jobs to do. There's a group called the Gardening Angels. They come out and they dig weeds or pull weeds, and they plant things and they prune, and they seem to have a good time doing that. My husband's job is picking up fronds from the palm trees that fall along the road.
Oh, okay.
And he puts them in the pickup and takes them off. And there are volunteer jobs in the house as a docent to explain to people about the house. And there are jobs, you know, in the office. They can always help put out a mailing or something like that.
Well, I did volunteer. I always wanted to work the parties, though.
Oh, yes, that's very much of a needed thing. Lots of volunteers are needed for that.
Okay.
Doing dishes even.
It's fun just to be around the Parkway people.
Thank you, that's good. That's good. I feel that way too.
Okay, let's go inside the store.
Okay.
Oh, I can already see some gifts to buy for friends and relatives inside this store. This is wonderful.
It is wonderful. I'm always impressed. And I usually don't carry a wallet with me, but I will make a little run to the car and get money sometimes when I see something too. We have local art. We have Parkway mugs, Parkway caps you can see over there. We have lovely books having to do with nature, mostly, and the local landscape of natural history.
My mother loved owls, and I see on this little Christmas tree over here you have little owl decorations, little owl ornaments.
Yeah, they're really cute. And this is all staffed by volunteers.
Okay.
Here's one of them right here.
Hi, would you like to come over and talk to us? No? We have somebody that's camera shy. But you're always looking for more volunteers.
Absolutely.
Is there an age limit? You must be at least...
No. We have volunteers who are teenagers, you know, to guide nature walks or with our river camp. In the summer, we have a river camp for kids, clear through 14 years old, I think. And then after 14, they can become a junior counselor and work with the younger children. And we have several locations for those river camps. Our last 2 years, we've had river camp, which is an all-day camp for a week, in Firebaugh. There's a wonderful park in Firebaugh, and those children have loved it because that community has kind of turned their back on the river and didn't pay much attention to it. And now this kind of says, hey, look what we've got right in our yard, you know. And it's been very successful.
This is true. Many of us don't usually get this far north in Fresno. A lot of people. I had a friend visiting from London, England, a man named Silvio Seamack. He's been in a few movies, and one of the things, he just wanted to get out and see the sights in Fresno. So I took him through Woodward Park, and we walked down to the river.
How wonderful. I hope he enjoyed it.
It was great. It was back in March, so still a little bit cool, and of course it got dark early, but we just had a wonderful time just walking down, looking at the river for a few minutes.
That's great. Did you see this mural on the wall? It was painted by a local artist, and it depicts the San Joaquin River, which is the second longest river in the state. And it shows, as the river comes down, all of the other tributaries that join the main branch of the river.
Oh, the Merced River, the Bear Creek, Chowchilla, Fresno River, San Joaquin River, Kings River, Stanislaus.
And then it eventually goes into San Francisco Bay.
Fantastic. I'll bet a lot of people don't know that.
No, that's why I love this mural. I think it really shows it so clearly.
All right. Well, that's great. I hope that we get a lot of visitors out here to the river store.
We have today had quite a few.
This is true. The weather's beautiful today. Can't beat this.
Right. Let me tell you about this pond. When we first acquired this property and the house, as I was telling you, this was dry and there were no trees or plants. It was a big, ugly hole.
Okay.
And I thought, what are we ever going to do with this big, ugly hole? And then the water began coming up from the ground, from underground. And then the Sand and Gravel Company is required to do replanting of native plants. That's part of government and gravel companies. It's an agreement. So they planted all of these trees and bushes, and they're all native to the area. There's nothing from out of. This is a deer grass, and the Indians used it for making baskets. So we loved having a lot of that around. And then, of course, the ducks and birds all came because of the water, and now there are turtles in there. I understand people have seen 7.
I think I can see one from here.
Do you?
Yeah, right down there, kind of towards the edge, just if you look over the top of that bush down there.
Right.
And then looks like little ducks diving under.
And so now we have this little trail. You see that little blacktop path. It goes all around the pond. And we have, I think, 5 hidden homes, we call them. And there's, you can see the owl home over there. There's an owl nest inside. And then over this way is a mouse house. And when you walk through it, it's such fun, and kids especially love it, but I love it too. There's a mural painted in there by Susan Gutierrez. And this mural looks just like the inside of a mouse house might look.
How cute.
There's spiders and little holes and tunnels, And then there's a bald eagle nest way at the other end of the pond to the south. And there's a caddisfly habitat house. And they've all been done by artists, a group of artists who were commissioned to design them. So I think this pond is a pretty wonderful thing.
It is. I've seen some people walking around.
And then the trail that's a little upper, that is part of the Lou Eaton Trail. It goes to Woodward Park. And we hope to build more trail that will go west, clear to the 99. That's what our hope is.
How long is the Lewis S. Eaton Trail right now?
Right now, it's 7 miles.
7 miles. And wasn't the projected outlook about 22 miles?
Exactly. You have a good memory. That's exactly what we want.
Excellent. And what is needed to build that? Maybe memberships?
Memberships, exactly right.
Donations?
Thank you. Yes, that's what we need. And we need operations and maintenance funding. That's a very big hurdle for groups like us, because we're not allowed to open the trail unless there is arrangements for operations and maintenance, so it would be safe and clean and good for the public.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we're working on trying to get some O&M money.
Well, thank you for sharing the information with us, Coke.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. This kiosk was donated by the Fresno County Office of Education. It's 4-sided, and so there's a lot of information here for the public. A lot of people walking here from Woodward Park, and you wouldn't believe how many of them say, "Where am I? What is this?" They don't even know about the Parkway or anything. So this is information for the beginner, you might say, And this is a picture of the dedication of the Lou Eaton Trail.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I don't know what year. I should know that.
1994.
It says right there. That's good. Here's a picture of children running into the river at River Camp. And you can see their delighted faces.
I love this map. San Joaquin River Parkway, explore, experience, enjoy. It tells us up here where different parts of the parkway are.
All of these things, yeah.
That's fantastic.
We have a much bigger map of, I was telling you about it earlier. It's in the office building. The same. Everything in green is publicly owned property. And as soon as we can possibly get funding for the operations and maintenance, more and more of these green places will be open to the public.
Looking forward to that.
Yes, me too.
Fantastic.